Just moments after the disappointment in the Gold Cup final, losing to Mexico 2-1. And you could see it coming from the 5th minute, being up 1-0. We hid from responsibility. We did not try and put our imprint on that match. We completely shied away from anything that we had planned going into it and lost all aspects of a game plan from the minute we scored the goal, which to me is the sign of a team that was unprepared and doesn't have anything to fall back on when times are getting tough. And that's what Mauricio Pochettino will need to figure out in the next year between July 6th, this moment, and the World Cup starting in June of 2026. Let's get right into our instant reaction, and it's going to start with Mauricio Pochettino, who, if you gave him a grade from this tournament, and I will give these players and coaches all grades in the video coming out this week, so make sure you're subscribed to Yanks Abroad so we can do a less emotional, more in-depth reaction to everything we learned this summer. But if I was going to give Mauricio Pochettino a grade, it wouldn't be a very high one because he didn't learn from anything. He didn't learn from match 1 to the final. He didn't learn from minute 1 to minute 97. He just didn't know what was working and what wasn't working. And over again, I felt that he fell short in areas that the manager just simply cannot fall short. He didn't get players into their best positions. He didn't get players into positions where they can succeed. He didn't get players into the positions we saw them succeed in earlier in this summer. Over and over again, we made the same mistakes. And more importantly, as I mentioned, the team didn't know what to do when times were getting tough. There wasn't an out ball. There wasn't central access. There wasn't subs that can come on and change the game for us. Those types of things, those are on the manager. There are plenty of things that the players themselves are responsible for, and I think a lot of them let us down. But Mauricio Pochettino himself just didn't learn enough about this team during this period. And there were individual moments of brilliance throughout this summer. Jack McGlynn opened the summer 1 minute in with some brilliance. Matt Freeze's brilliance in the Costa Rica match. Malik Tillman over and over again. Diego Luna had his moments. Even Max Arson at times was spectacular. But as a team, those moments of brilliance were small. They were there, and I'm taking some enthusiasm from that moving forward, but there wasn't enough consistency to it where I can feel like Mauricio Pochettino has instilled it. And listen, a good portion of this squad is not going to be at the World Cup, and I can understand that, and I'm not going to overreact. But it was disappointing to see this team struggle in the ways that we knew they were going to struggle. If you watch the Costa Rica match, if you watch the Guatemala match, they were the same type of struggles that they were having in those matches, but then in a final, which to me means that we have a manager who didn't necessarily prepare for those things to happen again. Maybe he didn't want them to happen again. He didn't think they were going to happen again. But the fact that he wasn't prepared for that, to me, is a little bit worrying. Moving on to Tyler Adams. Outside of Mauricio Pochettino, I actually think Tyler Adams might have been more disappointing throughout this tournament. This was the player outside of Tim Ream who has the most experience of anybody in this squad. And he shied away from responsibility. He didn't seem like a leader on the pitch in the ways that we see him when his best buddies are out there, Weston McKennie, Christian Pulisic. And I'm not trying to be overly negative, but the reality of the situation is Tyler Adams needed to be the player when we went up 1-0 who said to everyone, this game plan that we came in with, we need to continue to attack. We need to continue to get on the ball. We need to continue to pop up into open areas, to not get deeper and deeper and deeper. As he saw that defensive line getting deeper, he's this heart of that midfield. He needs to push the defensive line higher. He needs to drop centrally to help create. He needs to be the one who plays a risky pass to try and break the lines and try something different. I didn't see that from Tyler Adams in this tournament when times were getting tough. And yes, he's played a lot of matches. He's had injury problems. You know, he was massive for Bournemouth this year. He had great moments in this tournament, but I'd like to see a little bit more of that from Tyler Adams. And at this moment, although we haven't seen the best of Johnny Cardoso or Tanner Tessman for the U.S. men's national team, Tyler Adams didn't go out there and be like, this is my number 6 position and I'm going to be the one. If Johnny Cardoso was fit, I think we might have seen him play a few more minutes in this tournament than many had maybe expected, considering the way that Tyler Adams played. And Patrick Agyemang. It's hard to say that I think it got worse as time went on during this tournament, but for Patrick Agyemang, his inability to provide an out ball in this match, if he can't do that, then I'm not really sure what he's adding, because the amount of times he stepped on the ball and lost it in the box, or seemed like he was in a good position to at least get a shot or a cross in play and whiffed, or didn't get the ball, or showed too much of the ball to the defender. That's the kind of player we can expect. But for Agyemang not to be able to pin defenders and be an outball, and in that first half, as our team got so deep defending in this 4-4-2, and the midfielders kept getting deeper and deeper into this 2 lines of 4, what did Patrick Agyemang do? He got deeper too. And at a certain point, we're defending with 11 men behind the ball. And even when the ball comes out and long, who cares? They basically had their players all the way up the pitch here. There wasn't anyone to defend deep. And Patrick Agyemang, to me, just does not have the instincts of a professional at this level. He didn't think to keep getting higher up the pitch just to keep them from not having 11 men in our half. I mean, his heat map at halftime was literally nowhere to be found. He had 0 touches in the opponent's box in the first half. In the match alone, 6 completed passes. He played the entire match. He had 6 completed passes. It's just not good enough. It's just not good enough from a number 9 in a final. And it's reprehensible in a lot of ways. Let's move on to some positives. Damian Downs. I thought Damian Downs showed a lot of positives. He was excellent as a channel runner, right? As the second Damian Downs came on, it was 1-1. And he immediately, I'm just going to use Diego Luna I'll lose Luca Della Torre, who he came in for. Immediately, Damian Downs makes this run so well. And as that happens, they start having to build up from the back from deeper. Their defensive line gets deeper. Their midfield has to start pressing a little bit further back. They're stopping to play the ball in defeat. They keep having to play the ball over the top. It completely changed the way that they were trying to attack us. Our players were able to get further up the pitch. We had Max Arson getting into some good areas. Even Sebastian Berhalter at times got into higher and wider positions than we had seen him so far in this match. Damian Downs, to me, was one of the most, maybe the person outside of Malik Tillman who improved their position in the squad most. Malik Tillman, Diego Luna, but then Damian Downs to me is on the level of Alex Freeman, where it's like, this is a player who has a real shot now at pushing in the next year into the World Cup squad and potentially being that third option in a position where maybe he's not going to play a minute, but he was a good channel runner. He linked up really well and had a nice overall impact throughout this tournament. And Malik Tillman, just unbelievable player. A couple of turns that he made in tough times to get out of deep roles where I thought there was no way out. And when we didn't have an out ball, he was the only one who was really providing that. Not his best match by any means in this match. 16 of 22 passing, 2 successful dribbles, only 7 of 20 ground duels won. I mean, he really didn't seem up for it today. He got his ass kicked the entire 7 matches he played this summer. And I don't mean his ass kicked in terms of quality. I mean, he was getting thrown to the ground. He was in every single 50-50. He played so many minutes, and you could tell. He was not managed correctly throughout the summer. Too many minutes for Malik Tillman. And he played so many minutes this year for PSV, including having, I believe it was arthroscopic knee surgery at a certain point. So Malik Tillman deserves a rest before his move to Bayer Leverkusen. I'd like to see him take the step up to being the on-the-field leader that he can be in terms of his quality. I think today we hid from responsibility in midfield a lot. We had a hard time breaking down their press. And I would like to see Malik Tillman a couple more times come a little bit deeper and get onto the ball in these areas. We know we want him to be higher up the pitch, but at times we needed somebody like him who has a quality that nobody else has to create something that we didn't necessarily get from the other players who were supposed to be in those positions. That's not his job, but it's a responsibility that I would like to see him take on as we move forward and as he becomes an integral part of the U.S. men's national team in the coming years, and especially in the next year leading up to the World Cup. And again, I'm going to say, in a few days, on this channel, there's going to be an incredible deep dive into what we learned this summer about the players and the coach and what it means for the World Cup squad moving forward and who I believe that World Cup squad will be, who I think the starting 11 will be, and how that tactics will look. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you can get that video pushed to you when it comes live later this week. This is the emotional recap against Mexico. I'm sweating. I'm hot and heavy. I'm talking through it all. But there's going to be a detailed tactical analysis on the players and the coach from this summer and what to expect for the World Cup squad a year from now. Diego Luna. He had a lot of positives this summer, and if you are following me on TikTok and you've been following me here, I was calling this a Diego Luna hot boy summer going into the summer. This was the summer where Diego Luna was going to get his moment to shine, and he had his moment to shine. It was Guatemala. He was the star. Everyone's been talking about him for 3 days, and I don't mean to dull that shine, Because when Diego Luna is in this area of the pitch, when Diego Luna gets into the half spaces between the lines and receives the ball there, he is one of our best pocket players. There's no doubt about that. He is a top 3 pocket player for us. It's Pulisic, Tillman, and him. Those are the players who operate there and make things happen. He has proved that, and it's going to make him a massive part of the squad at the World Cup. But when Diego Luna is not in the areas of the pitch where he's effective, meaning when he's receiving the ball out wide here, Arson's a little bit deeper, and Luna's really playing as his true left winger, he doesn't add much. He's not a player who's going to dribble out a player 1v1 who isn't backpedaling or who isn't, when he can't get up to a full head of steam, he's not going to take him on. He's shifty side to side, but he's not shifty in terms of the way he manipulates the ball with his feet. So he's not a true winger. And when Diego Luna's being asked to defend in his own third for the entire match, and I thought he did well, it takes away from what he can operate in terms of counterattacking. He's a player who can be so good transitionally, who can get into little 1-2s with his number 9, who can pop up in different areas. As a counterattack's building, he can get in, this ball's over here on the left center back. He'll pop through here to pick up here and then create a little mini counterattack on one side, a little mini transition. That's where Diego Luna's at his best. He did not get into those areas today, and therefore we did not see the best out of Diego Luna. Max Arson, another player who I think gets a harsh rap because, yes, he is a very poor defender in 1v1s. He loses the third runner in behind all the time. But Max Arson can't get the best out of him if he's being asked to play in the first phase of buildup. Max Arson needs to be high and wide. Outside of the striker, to me, Max Arson needs to be the player highest up the pitch. That makes defenders, that makes Mexico, that makes them start way deeper because this player, this right back, has to stay with Max Arson. Has to keep an eye on him. It allows Diego Luna to get closer to Agyemang, pin this one defender. Now you've got a situation with an overload. But when Max Arson's being asked to be a part of build-up, he gets the ball onto his right foot. He doesn't have this interior pass. He doesn't feel comfortable playing it. He gets it onto his left foot. He doesn't want to dribble with his left foot and try and beat a man. Forces him to play backwards. It takes the best out of Max Arson. And then he's worried about his defensive responsibility the whole match. And he just can't be Max Arson. He had a couple of really good moments when he got forward. But overall, not a match to write home about for him. That one shot really almost was great. But 25 of 26 passing. The fact that he did not attempt a cross, no attempted crosses, that's a failure. Max Arson needs to be getting that ball in with both feet 3 to 4 times a match. We have a big-ass number 9 up there. Maybe not the best goal scorer, but it's certainly a player who can throw his body weight around. That's a failure from the coach and a failure from the player to not get himself higher up the pitch. Chris Richards. I don't have much to say other than player of the tournament for me for the U.S. I don't think there's a doubt about it. Scored 2 great goals, could have had a third. Keylor Navas made a great save. And an absolute rock at the back. Not a single mistake that really comes to mind. Some absolutely unbelievable line-breaking passes at times. Really good defending 1v1 when he's asked to be out wide. Played at a center back, played at as a wide center back. Just overall, he has taken such a massive step in his overall game. Him and Malik Tillman really have gone up another tier in world football in terms of how people are going to view them. And it's just great to see. We now have players like Richards, Jedi, Pulisic, Tillman. I think Balogun and Pepe are probably the next players to take that step if they're going to, but Chris Richards, player of the tournament for the U.S. for me, would have been the player of the tournament overall had the U.S. won on the back of that goal. Really, really impressed by him. Just overall, I don't have much more to say other than his confidence has taken another step. He's not only a keep the ball in front of him type of defender, he's become a bit more of an aggressor. He's started to trust his passing with both feet, playing diagonals, playing vertical balls, really become the leader of this U.S. men's national team. Luca De La Torre and Sebastian Berhalter. Number one, how Sebastian Berhalter played all 97 minutes of that match, I'll never understand. How he could have stayed on the pitch. He was so poor in this match. Yes, he had the assist early on, and I've been saying he is awesome off set pieces. I will never take that away from him. He is great off set pieces. But that was not enough for him to be out there for that long. Especially once you put Jack McGlynn on, who is arguably better off set pieces and has been brought on to do that very job. I mean, Sebastian Berhalter, a lot of credit for what he did in this tournament. I don't want to take that away from him. I was shocked by him, as many were. I think he had some really good moments. But out of possession, he's too weak. He's always a half a step late to where he needs to be. His weight of pass is completely off so many times that caused multiple counterattacks going the other way, and his inability to chase them down. He's being asked to play off the right wing when he's a central midfielder. None of it made any sense. 24 of 37 passing, that's 65% from a midfielder. That's not good enough. 1 accurate cross, only 3 of 6 accurate long balls, 4 of 10 ground duels won. He was dribbled past. He just simply was not good enough in this match and should not have been out there for that long. And Luca de la Torre, same thing for me. 22 of 25 passing. 1 pass into the final third. That's it. I don't need to talk about any other stats for Luca de la Torre. Luca de la Torre is arguably in the most important position in this system. No matter how you want to spill it, no matter if it's 2 wide center backs and no center back, this pass here to Luca de la Torre is everything that's important. If Luca de la Torre can get into this space often enough where they have to start pressing further up on it, it allows this to happen, where Luna can hug Agyemang, where Ream can get this ball and play this pass into here, where Arson can get high and wide. It's all about Luca de la Torre posing a threat as a runner. And he can't pose a threat as a runner. He doesn't know when to sprint into space to get on the ball. He's being asked to do a job that isn't one that he would succeed at, but he didn't give it enough effort for me. He was a yard and a half off the pace in every single match. He was so often getting so close to Diego Luna that Diego Luna was basically being marked by his own teammate. Defensively, he was a mess trying to pick out a player to mark. He was a half a step behind this player or a step too close to that player. He's just not of the level to be playing for the U.S. men's national team, and certainly not in this role. This role is a player who has to be a runner, but who also has an ability to pass the ball in many different angles. Luca de la Torre doesn't have that. He doesn't have the ability to spray the ball. Luca de la Torre so many times gets the ball into this position, and this 6 is chasing him this way. You've got the 8 trying to run back, and this pass is open, whether it be to Tillman or whoever this right winger is, and he's just unable to make it. He plays the ball back to Adams. They're able to get back in, and we're forced to recycle. I'm sorry, but Luca de la Torre is on the list of players who absolutely cannot be in the U.S. men's national team World Cup squad. Lastly, on the instant reaction and the players, Alex Freeman and Matt Freese, just to the both of them, thank you for your service in this tournament. I don't think either of them was spectacular. Obviously, Matt Freese had his moments. Alex Freeman had his moments. But 2 players who were not in this setup at all, who I think were consistent, did what they were asked, and showed moments of brilliance when we needed them. To me, Matt Freese has made himself the number 1 going into the World Cup at this moment. We've got 11 months to go. And Alex Freeman is getting himself into the conversation as Serginho Dest's backup at right back with Joe Scally. There's a lot of time to go. I'm not saying he has jumped Joe Scally. Joe Scally's been a great servant. He's been a great player. He plays for Mönchengladbach. I'm not trying to overreact to this, but I think the way that people have talked about Alex Freeman saying he's not doing enough are not really watching what he's being asked to do. He was asked to do so many different things, right? And we're going to jump into the tactical analysis anyway, so we might as well just look at it. But the first match is Alex Freeman was asked to play as a wide center back. This is a player who's been an overlapping fullback his whole career. He's being asked to play as a wide center back, and as this setup right here, right? They're going to be playing a 4-4-2 against our 3-2-4-1. And Freeman was asked to basically get this ball here, either carry into the space. If the 8 pulls to Tillman, play the ball into Adams. If the 8 pulls to Adams and the 11 comes to you, recycle it. If the 11 comes to you and the 8 doesn't pull at all, it's your choice. And at times, you've got Agyemang and Tillman pinning this defender, and you play it into the channel. And he was comfortable playing all those passes. And then at times, they were dropping deep, stopping this pass from coming in. The 9 would kind of start pushing over as the 10 would try to drop in. And Freeman would cut inside with the ball. De la Torre was able to push up and kind of move into this double pivot with Adams. He was asked to do so many different things and was so capable of it. And then for the last 3 matches, when we got away from this system completely, Alex Freeman was asked to play as a wide fullback. And I think he did really well at making intelligent runs as overlaps, as not losing the ball in this area when he was pretty much given no passing opportunities, with Adams sometimes hanging out all the way over here, with this being Luca de la Torre as a solo pivot, not feeling comfortable playing this pass in. I thought Alex Freeman was truly excellent. Getting into a little bit more of that tactical analysis, this match, I mean, I don't want to get too much into it because I just don't think this is what we were ever trying to do, but it was totally bizarre. For most of it, we were just dropping into almost like a 2-4-3-1. And this is not a buildup that works. What Mexico did really well was they pressed with 3 instead of just 2. And so the ball would come into Richards here. The 10 would push to Richards. The 9 would just hedge this a little bit. So this pass is not here into Adams. It comes super wide to Freeman. Basically, this is completely shut down, and you're asked to play long, or you're asked to play back around. Same thing happens over here to Arson. They've rotated. De La Torre is unable to get free here. Sometimes we're able to get it up to Luna, but by the time it got to Luna, they did so well closing this down here that this pass was completely closed off, and we were recycling. When you try and stack like this, you're able to be marked by so many players at once. It does allow you to play safe passes without losing the ball in tight areas and play long, but we weren't able to actually ever get a channel runner in because Tillman was clearly not being instructed to be a channel runner. Luna was pushed way out wide, and you basically just had an inability to break this down in here. They were able to just chase us all over the places. The spacing between each player was too far apart that the passes couldn't be played quickly, but they weren't far apart enough that there was actual space being created. These two players had no capabilities of getting onto the ball at all. De La Torre would get high up to the pitch. Adams would drop in here. And again, there was nothing here to see. Once or twice, we were able to get the ball into Ream here. And this pass opened up where Tillman would sprint into this space. It did open up once or twice. But it's such a hard pass to make. It has to be made with so much pace that unless it's played perfectly, by the time Tillman's able to gather, they've dropped back in. You still have 5 players behind the ball. And then you've not really created, maybe there's one more player up, but you've not really created a mini transition. And as we know, Mauricio Pochettino is all about creating mini transitions. The key to our entire buildup is getting this player deep enough that when they press, they can't press in a 3. Because if you were to press in a 3 here, the second this ball gets wide, right? So De La Torre and Berhalter are kind of dropping in here. Freeman out wide here. Luna. If they're going to press into 3 against these 3, there's no way for them to stop these players from getting wide enough that they either have to stop this pass, in which case Richards is able to dribble in. If they don't, this ball comes wide, and now they've super overcommitted. You have either Luna coming in underneath to Tillman, which we saw a bunch of times be super successful, or you have this pass in over the top to Tillman and Agyemang pinning this player because your 8 and 6 are basically stuck covering this double pivot. Arson's holding this right back high and wide, and then you've pinned this player into a 2-on-1, and we saw that work a bunch of times. So teams had to keep dropping into a 4-4-2 press to stop that from happening, and then when that happened, you had De La Torre and Berhalter, but not really ever the two of them. But let's just say with this lineup, and you were able to get either Richards or Ream wide and high enough where this pass became available. We were unable to do that in the last 3 matches for the most part, and against Mexico, not one single time did we even get Adams in between the 2 defenders deep enough to create something. And then, after we scored the goal, we got pinned so deep, and I already talked about this, but Agyemang wasn't an out ball, and when Agyemang's not an out ball, then your number 10s get too close to the midfielders, then you can't get your number 10 close to Agyemang, as I talked about pinning that defender to get those 2v1 opportunities created. It reduced our attacking width. It reduced our ability to get into the center. And I can't identify what Pochettino was trying to do. I can understand if you score a goal and they start attacking more, things change, but we never had a backbone of anything to turn to. And that's the biggest worry from all this for Pochettino is, what have you actually instilled in the team if they don't know what to turn to when they're winning a match? There should be an opportunity in a possession-based formation where, okay, we're going to get into this 3-flat back. We can pass the ball around over and over again between these 3 players. Pass it until they have to come with that third man to press it and take it off you. And then you have this out ball to Arson. You have Luna dropping in. You have Tillman dropping in this way. And, of course, you still have, if you don't want to do it, you have this pinning option where you can try and play this in deep and try and win the second ball. We got away from that. We were incapable of taking risk and responsibility in midfield. A lot of that had to do with the selection of players. De La Torre being asked to be in that lone six runner position, in double pivot in the runner position. It didn't work out. I'm not going to say this is a totally negative summer. I think there's a lot of positives to take away from it from a player and a coaching perspective. Pochettino did a lot of things that I did like. This match, I didn't like anything. But earlier matches, there were sections of every match that I was more promising than anything I saw under Berhalter. We're taking steps forward. But the question is, when the right players are there, can we get them in the right positions? I'm not sure Pochettino has figured out how to identify players' best roles. And until he does that, we're going to struggle, and he's running out of time. But again, a lot of positives to take. It's been a great summer so far. I appreciate all the new fans, the new subscribers, the new people watching, the comments, the discourse, the community. Appreciate it all. Make sure you're subscribed. On Wednesday or Thursday, there's going to be a new video to talk about which players we liked, what we're going to learn going forward, what the team's going to look like for the World Cup if it started today, and everything in between. Transfers to talk about: Malik Tillman to Bayer Leverkusen, Patrick Agyemang to Derby, Josh Sargent to Leeds. A lot of interesting things. Yunus Musa to Napoli. Things are happening. What is Gio Reyna's future? So much to discuss. Will Diego Luna go to Europe? All of that to come. This is Yanks Abroad. Make sure to subscribe. I appreciate you watching, and we'll talk to you later this week.